10 days to go to the next election, 9th of August 2022. Today, I look at what happens to the person who loses the election. What is the future for that person? Before that, I'll look at who is likely to lose the election or who is likely to be the winner. But again, before that, so that it's much easier to understand who is losing, who is winning, we must see the election question being reduced to just one thing. This election is being reduced to the matter of corruption. That in this country, we all now agree that the biggest challenge we have is corruption. That the level of plunder of public resources, of theft of public resources, cannot be sustained. That no amount of development can take place in this country with existing levels of corruption. That irrespective of how beautiful a manifesto is, irrespective of how Ruto's plan, beautiful plan is, unless you deal with corruption, family, all that will come to zero. Not all those activities that are meant to revitalize the economy, to revive agriculture, deal with food security, create jobs for young people, all those activities will amount to nothing unless you deal with corruption. Because all those activities are programs that are funded and money is used. So long as people eat the money meant for these projects, these programs, you'll go nowhere. So we'll find ourselves back here 5 years again in 2027 talking about the same things. In 2032, we'll still be talking about unemployment, about hunger, about ignorance, about disease, the same things. We've been talking about these things for the last 59 years. Another 10, 15 years, we will be talking about the same things unless we address the issue of corruption. So the question is, now that we agree the single most challenge we face is corruption, and all manifestos and plans are useless unless you face it, the question then is reduced to who can fight corruption. So this election is simple. The choice is much simpler than ever before. Is looking at Ruto and Gachagua, looking at Raila and Martha Karua and asking yourself as a Kenyan, considering that corruption must be fought for us to move forward, who can I believe, which team, which pair, can I believe Raila and Martha Karua will fight corruption, which is killing this country? Or can I believe, or will I believe, Rigathi Gachagua and the Ruto will fight corruption? What is coming out, and opinion polls are indicating what I'm trying to say, is that most Kenyans tend to believe that it's Raila Odinga and Martha Karua who will fight corruption. Matters are made worse for the Kenya Kwanza team of Ruto and Gachagua. When every passing day there are revelations about things that dent their character. Most recent about Rigathi Gachagua having been found with 200 million of money believed to be proceeds of corruption, and he's been asked to forfeit the same to the state. That doesn't build the image of the team, and yet Kenyans, aware that corruption is destroying this country, are looking at a team. And in looking at a team, you are looking at the image. What kind of image do you get when you look at Ruto and Gachagua? What kind of image do you see when you look at Raila and Martha Karua? For that reason, this election seems cold. It looks like, and most likely is, that Raila is set to become the 5th president of the Republic of Kenya. So my video today is on William Samoei Ruto, because my video is about the loser. What happens to the loser? What happens to William Ruto after losing to Raila Odinga? What future is there? First, he's a young man, young in politics. He can go for another 4 elections. That's a plus for him. But for him to be a player in the political field, and this I've said before, he must be aware of one thing, which again I've talked about, that this election is so vicious, so viciously fought, that the victor is unlikely to listen to Winston Churchill, that you should be magnanimous in victory. That is unlikely to apply this time because of the vicious nature of this election. And therefore the victor is most likely going to crush and vanquish the loser. But the loser, William Ruto, can mitigate that. And that has a bearing on his future. And I've said this before. William Samoei Ruto will need to take the defeat in his strides. Will need to congratulate Raila Amolo Odinga and tell his followers there is tomorrow, because tomorrow is another day. In fact, if you ask me, if I'm William Samoei Ruto, I will not even go to the Supreme Court. In other words, your future depends on how you behave. Because if William Ruto throws tantrums between the day election results are announced and the day Raila Odinga is sworn in, and immediately after that, the victor may not be kind to him. This is politics. This is politics. Nobody will injure you physically, but they will come after you politically. And you will disappear from the political map of this country. Now, let us assume William Ruto ignores me, and after losing the election, he goes ahead to put up a fight, beginning with the Supreme Court. What is a likely scenario after that? Number one, the people who have supported him from regions like Western Kenya, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Weta the Fifth, and so on and so forth, will be coiling their tails. They will have disappeared completely. There will be nobodies, not just from where they come in Western, in case of Weta and Mudavadi, but on the Kenyan political map. They will have disappeared completely. They will have been deflated politically. What happens to the people supporting William Samoei Ruto from his stronghold of Mount Kenya? We are moving towards isolation. What happens immediately Raila is sworn in? And within the first 3 months, you can bet your last coin. You can bet your last coin that UDA governors from Mount Kenya, UDA senators from Mount Kenya, UDA MCAs and members of parliament will flock to Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. That you can bet. It has happened before when Kibaki won. Ask yourself, what happened to Uhuru's KANU members? What happened in 1992, 1997? This is this country and we know how it works. The people who are going to win on UDA in Mount Kenya will flock to Azimio, towards Raila and Uhuru immediately after election. Otherwise, can you convince me Governor Wamatangi can remain in the opposition? Can you convince me Governor Anne Waiguru would, if they have won on UDA, stay 1 month before crossing over? The net effect of this is that Ruto will be abandoned by people from the mountain. Obviously. The last man standing may not go beyond Kimani Ichung'wah, Ndindi Nyoro, and Alice Wahome, and Rigathi Gachagua. All the rest, this you can take to the bank, will flock to Azimio, making Ruto completely ejected and evicted from Mount Kenya region, becoming lonely and more lonely politically, because he chose to ignore what I'm saying. What happens to his home turf? It's the last nail in the coffin. Believe me, from the time Ruto loses the election, there will be new crop of leaders in the Rift Valley from his Kalenjin community. The people Ruto suppressed, notables during the Moi regime, some of who are now senior citizens and elderly people and women, these people will be propped up. So you are going to see Franklin Bates, Henry Koske, Sally Koske, Zakayo Cheruiyot, Sambili, Margaret Kamar. You are going to see all these forces being propped up. And they are going to be the new fellows calling the shots in the Rift Valley. All working in cohorts with Baringo Senator Gideon Kipsiele Moi. So, William Samoei Ruto, you have lost all your friends from Western who lost in elections, who are working with you like Mdavadi. You've lost all of them, Kina Mutua. They have folded their tails. You've lost your supporters. The people elected on your ticket from Mount Kenya, all of them have gone to Azimio. And at home, there is a new crop of leaders calling the shots. It can never get lonelier. William Samoei Ruto. So back to my advice. As a good person, your future is dependent on how you behave upon losing this election. You throw tantrums, your future in politics is gone. You behave like a gentleman. You tell your supporters we've lost, there's another day, because tomorrow is another day. You are guaranteed of a future, including becoming the president of this country at one time.